At this point, I'd like to introduce Ben Payton, who is our treasurer and also is leading the stewardship campaign for 2025. So, Ben?
Hi, how are we? Your Holy Family treasurer here. Are we ready for sermon number 2? Yes? Yes? Nah, I see shaking of heads, but it's side to side. That's odd. So I did want to start off here. I know everybody loves the widow's mite story. As a treasurer, that should be what I focus on, right? I need you to give both of your, copper coins, please. I actually really like the Elijah reading. Actually, it's the First Kings reading, but it's about Elijah. So everybody remembers how that story went, right? We just read it like 4 minutes ago, right? What I love about that story is it's not about giving to the sanctuary, like to synagogue or to the priest. It's about sharing. And it's at a time where this woman doesn't think that she can share, but when she listens to God's calling, even though it's at a time where I don't think it's possible, there's enough. And which is a great message, I think, for a parish. Because when we share together, there still is somehow enough, especially during a period of time where we don't think that we could share anymore. Hence, hey, the stewardship campaign, this works out well. So this week, I, in a way, was in a very similar situation. I just became CFO treasurer for another nonprofit organization and had my first board meeting on Wednesday. And the budget presentation and all the numbers were so dry, and nobody liked it. And so I thought to myself, I originally had something totally different for this Sunday. I had something, graphs and pie charts and all the fun stuff that you don't really want to see. You don't want to see that. So I scrapped it, and I went with something that I thought might be a little more interesting. So hopefully you find this at least engaging. Fred, would you mind switching over and putting up on the screen our presentation? 2025 Stewardship Meme Edition. Do I have your attention? Yes. Memes, are we good? Are we good with this? All right. So, we're on different footing. Let's go together. Next slide. As a treasurer, I can tell you, and the board, the vestry, feel like this way sometimes, right? If I could cut the budget but still do all the work, that'd be great, right? Well, that's not going to be the call. Sorry. Okay, next slide. Just a reminder, this is our current situation. This is our current 2024 budget. Income on top, expenses on the bottom, 44 pledging units. That's where we're at. That's the past. All done with that. Next, this is going to surprise you. A rinse and repeat of that budget. Did you see that number jump? That $306,000 is really what the expenses will be. And this is the same exact, really no changes made budget. How is that possible? Well, in 2025, we will be expected to take on payments of the mortgage payment in the back, for our expansion in the back. The diocese has been helping us out with that. That is set to sunset, and we'll retire that, so we're going to have to start taking that on ourselves. It also requires us to take on our apportionment back to the diocese. So it's the same exact thing, only we're not getting the help from the diocese anymore. It's okay. It's okay. Breathe. Okay? But that is the change. It would require us to keep the same budget, though, because we're looking to call a new priest. Congratulations again on the retirement. Well-earned, well-deserved, many, many years of service. We are going to give you your send-off you deserve. That sounds ominous. I didn't mean it that way. But we can't change the budget because if we were making that call to a new priest and we're like, oh great, Bruce retires in February, we only have to pay 2 months worth of, a month and 1 week worth of, priestly costs, that's great. We can cut it from the budget, right? What priest can say yes to us if we don't have room in our budget for them to be able to come here? We are not for profit, but there are living expenses and they're going to need to live. So there are limits to that. But I don't want this. I don't want this budget. And I'm here to convince you that you don't want this budget either. Next slide. All right, so 2025, this represents a growth budget. I want to point out something. I'm going to sit next to you. I'm going to point out something. So do you see? It's not as big as I wanted him to, but it's the little meme where he's like reaching over. And everything got moved around. This is what I want. I want this. $380,000 budget. Right? That represents a 3% expense added on, living wages and everything increases, costs always go up. But this involves 2 full-time staff paid positions. I don't know if you know this. I get up and say it every time we go through our budget. Our staff are woefully unpaid. They're underpaid to a very sad degree. This would represent full-time employment. This is what I would like to give them. This would honestly represent the work they're already doing. I think also this would be very attractive to a priest who wants to come here. Full-time staff for, management, administrative management, plus communications, children's ministry. Children's ministry is very important. You are very important to me, and I want to reflect that in our budget. So this is what I want. I want this. Okay, you're still with me? No one? I think only 2 people left. Next slide. Here's a way to get there. I say a way to get there, not the way to get there, because there's many ways to get there. Jim, you'll notice here, the top tier is $25,000, 2 pledging units. If you want to give $100,000 next year, I will rearrange this just for you. No problem, right? And I know how it goes over, right? You're sitting there in the pew, and you look at that first line, and you think, he's talking to me. There is no way. This man is off his rocker. I'm not talking to you. There's only 2 potential pledging units that might meet this goal. That's all I'm looking for. What I am asking for you to do, though, is get together as a household, prayerfully consider. These are all stretch goals, right? Consider one of these categories if you can get to that stretch goal as a pledge. Would require a lot of us to maybe make that slight increment up. Who knows? Maybe you've gotten a giant pay raise and you actually can leapfrog. I don't know your financial situation. You don't have to tell me. But that is kind of how you get there. And I know also kind of what some of you are thinking. Some of this math doesn't math. He said we have 44 pledging units, and I'm adding up that left column total. That's more than 44. This guy's our treasurer? Are you sure? I also do like this. You thought I said no membership fees? Because it's church, but we kind of feel this way sometimes. This does reflect also some of our current parishioners converting over from open alm plate giving to pledged giving. There are people who are meeting some of these already right now, but it's going into the plate and not part of pledge. So we can't budget based on what's been given to open alms because we don't know what that's going to be. So this reflects some growth there. But those are a lot of numbers. I get it. Next slide. A chance to talk about tithing. I also very much like this meme quite a lot. This is the reason why I'm talking to you today, and Bruce is not on this topic, right? The little sing for your supper feels really weird. Tithing. I'm gonna mention it. I know this is the tried and true. This is the hill that treasurers die on, right? You've heard this one. Tithing. Biblically, traditionally 10%, right? 10% of your tithes, your first fruits go to God. That's what this has all been based off. That's where tithing comes from. It's this idea of 10%. So I mentioned this in the morning session, and I'm mentioning it now. I'm a little bit of a rebel. My idea of tithing is a little different. I do like the 10%. I love this. I'm not there yet. I'm still working on it. I've got kids. I'm not there yet. I'll admit it. I'll be the first to admit it. But I like the idea of 10% being the goal. And it doesn't, in my mind, have to be the church. When this concept was created, the church organization, the synagogue, when it came to America, the different churches that popped up, they were the social center. If you were giving 10% your first fruits back to God, the only way really to give it to God's children was through the church organization. They were the only nonprofit game in town. We need to give ourselves some grace and acknowledge all the other ways that we give to God. It doesn't have to come through and flow through these doors. Those veterans nonprofits organizations that you support, you give to the Red Cross. You give to those nonprofit organizations who are helping out individuals affected by adverse weather. Those things count in my mind. That goes towards that tithing goal. So give yourself some credit. I'm not asking for, if you want to, Bruce, if you want to still, after you retire, you still want to give 10% back to the church? That's great. I would love that. I will take that. I'm not discouraging it. But I do want to talk a little bit about that as a realistic goal this day and age. There are other ways to give to God besides the plate. 10% is the goal. Did you know that the actual is 2%? Which is yikes. 2% of Americans' income goes to donations, to nonprofit organizations, to the less fortunate, the needy. 2%. 49K, what that number is up there, that's the average take-home pay for an earning unit in Indiana. So, if we're applying this math, as I'm saying should be our goal, not necessarily our actuality, because we're all in different spots, but that would be $4,900 per earning unit given to God in some way, shape, or form, on average. I'm not 49K. I have a feeling a number of people are not 49K either. We're on this sliding scale, so it's not a one-to-one. But I do want you to understand those numbers and prayerfully kind of consider where you're at on that. Next slide. Ingathering will be December 15th. Time for us to, for me, desperately run back through my own household budget and figure out where I'm at. Probably not on target, but have those conversations. Pray, consider where you're at. We're going to do an in-gathering part of our December 15th service together and gather those together and prepare for our 2025. So that's the date to remember. You'll get some more information. Don't worry. I won't let you forget. That's what I'm here for. Next slide. Special projects campaign. I mentioned this. I'm mentioning it again. Again, another meme that I love. I need to buy more money. There's a survey that'll be forthcoming. There will be a physical copy next Sunday. There will be an electronic copy for you to engage online if that's your preference. We have a lot of things that we need to do as we're transforming this land space that we'll be transforming. Things that we need to move around, things that we need to protect, maybe projects that we don't have on this list yet and need to address. There's some things that we're going to need to pay special attention to. That might be money. That might be what the next slide is. And that is, if we can go to the next one, time, right? The old phrase is, time is money. And while I don't have a lot of money, I have more money than I have time. I feel like a lot of people are in the same boat. And I don't want to shortchange the value that we have. literally even sitting in this room right now. You are spending your time with each other. That is very, very valuable. So how do we leverage that, and how do we do and find more and interesting ways to give us chances to spend time together? We can put together more special events. The angel tree, Christmas donations, backpack for kids. These take time and effort. And for the rest of us, just a little bit of financial pitch in. Yeah, I can donate a backpack. I can donate food to the Delaware Township trustee. I can do that. But we also need that time, that organizational piece as well. Could you maybe donate something for that? Landscaping. We always need landscaping. Fixing that takes money. If you have time, that saves us money. Would love help with that. Various other drives. We could do Toys for Tots kind of things, right? I mean, there's limitless possibilities there. But also use of the building space. We have this wonderful building, and that capability of utilizing our space and connecting us to this community is an easy way to get new people in the door, to introduce ourselves and the Episcopal Church to people who have never found it before, right? Fishers is bustling. How can we help? What can we do? Can we host an art weekend and put art up and allow people to peruse it from local artists here? What can we do with the building? Last one? Yes, last one. As always, no questions. No, seriously, I do want to reiterate, thank you so much. Holy Family literally is sitting in these seats or online participating. Folks are on the road or not feeling well. Wherever we find you, your time spent together is so precious to all of us. Thank you, because you're what makes Holy Family, Holy Family. The money, the budget, that doesn't have any personality. You guys do. So thank you. If you have any questions, I'll entertain them. Please come see me afterwards. Feel free to talk to any of the vestry members. They'll be happy to talk to you too. This is a time to transform and grow together, to change as our landscape changes, literally both right here, but also the town. So let's see what we can do together in 2025, and I will be happy to talk to anybody who has any comments or questions. So thank you. I'm done.